Hi everyone. So in this video, I will show you how we can enhance the OTP element. So in the last video, we have shown you that on refresh, the first input will be on focus, and we did it via JavaScript code written here. Now, after this video, we will try to achieve this. So whenever we refresh the page, it will autofocus the element that we already seen. But now if I enter any text like 1 2 3 4, you can see that it already, whenever we type 1, it move the cursor to the next element. So this is one point. Secondly is that you see that a pop-up is shown. So for example, if I type something like 5, then it is showing the OTP 1 2 3 4. So this is a alert element. So we want to see whenever we fill up the whole OTP component, then it should notify our bubble application that OTP is finished, so that we can run some actions like log in the user or check the OTP, something like that. So that we will gonna see that. One more thing is that if you press backspace, it will move to the previous state and it will select the element. So like if I did something wrong, like I can refresh it and can write 3 2 1 5 or 5 4 or 3. So this will work like that. And you also seen that we have a green text and green border color if we have some value. If we remove it, it is like normally blue color on focus, or otherwise the gray color. So this is what we want to achieve in this video. So let's get started. So we will work on our local environment setup. So in last video we have already seen that we have 4 inputs, and this was our script. So if I refresh it, just a second, I have to start the server. So now if I refresh it, you can see this is auto focusing that. But if I write something, it is not going move to the next element. So why is that? Okay, so for that what we have to do? Okay, so this is our first input element and we are focusing it. We can add comment to add more readability to our code. So focusing first element on page load. This is called comment, and this is nothing to do with the behavior of the code. This is just for our finding that what we are doing, so that in later we understand that okay, we are doing focusing the first element. So this is for easier to understand our code. Now one more thing I have to know that I added the semicolon mark after each line. I can also remove it because JavaScript is a language that does not strictly say that you have to put a semicolon at the end of each line. You can add or you cannot add. I generally add it because it generally standardized that if I add it, it will look like it is a single line. Okay, so I generally add it, but let's see. Okay, so for that what we have to do is just let's see what we want to achieve. So basically if I type something like 6, I want to move the focus element to next element. If I want 4, then I want to move the focus element to this element, something like that. So that means whenever we type something, like we are inputting something, we want to move the focus to the next element. So we have to add a event listener. Now what is the event listener? For example, if we type something, right, a browser will give you a event that okay, this is I am typing input. So that input you can listen to it. It is similar to what we do is edit or add workflow. So what we do is in button we can right click in bubble, inside a button we can right click and add or edit workflow. So that workflow run when the button is clicked. Similarly, how it bubble know, because bubble handle it in behind the scenes using JavaScript. Now we want to see, so first I will show you a simple example that whenever we typing something, we want to show some alert message that okay, user is added inputted, add input element. Okay, so let me show you what does it mean. For example, let me add a button element here. We will delete it later, but this is a button element. I can add submit. So I want to know when submit is click. When submit is click, I want to show a alert message, okay, or do some calculation, anything like. So first of all, I have to find this element. So for that, one thing is I can add class into it. and I can add class into it, and I can select by dot, or I can add id into it, and I can select it by hash sign that I already showed you. So for now I think I adding a id, because this submit button is unique per page. That means we will not add this id, that submit button id, in any element. That is the litmus test, that you should add class or id. If you want to use same submit button in other element, then you have to use classes, because this submit button can't be used inside a page in any other element if we are using it, because this is unique. But OTP input I can add it because it is a class, so that's a differentiator. Now two ways of we have to first select this element from DOM, that I am to add a event listener. So event listener, nothing but that we do something into it, like clicking, double click, right click, something like that, and it will send a event. JavaScript will send a event which we will just listen to it. It is similar to start and edit workflow. So in Bubble, what we do is we right click into it and we click on start and edit workflow, and if we add something like that inside the workflow, whenever we click it, it will run. So similarly we want to do in JavaScript, of course. So this is submit button. Now we can just we can select the element. So the button is document dot query selector. Now two ways of selecting the button. So one is hash and then submit button. This is one way. Now I can console log it, so it will show in the console, so we can verify it, if it is working or not. So I can right click and go to inspect, just close it. So you can see that I am printing out the button. So this button is this button. So you can see this is something hovering effect is done. So this button is referring to this element. Now another way to select a ID, which is not query selector, we can select like get document get element by ID. Okay, I can add here submit button. Now this does not need the hash sign. Now if I hover over this works similarly that previous button, but you can use this one also, or you can use query selector. Query selector is more dynamic, so I generally use query selector whenever possible. So okay, so now this is how we select a button, and we can now I am showing you that how you can add a event listener, that you listen to if when this button is clicked and when to run something, right? So in JavaScript what we can do is btn dot add event listener, and then we have to add double quote, we have to add the event name, that what we want to listen to. For example, here I can right click, so whenever we click something, then after comma we have to pass the function. So this is the function name, okay, and then I can add the code like console log and button is clicked like this. So what this means is we are adding a event listener to this button. So whenever we click the button, this function will run, and inside the function we added a logic console log. So this will run when button is clicked. Okay, I save it, and now if I click it, see button is clicking. I also click it, and it is showing 2. So that is how we will know that this button is clicked or not. Now similarly let's see that how we want to work on this. So in the first element, if I write 5, then whenever we type something, we input something, we give some input, we want to immediately focus on the next element. So that's what we want to do. Now let's do this. So basically we don't need a button, so I am removing the button, and it is giving the error because now button is not in the inside DOM. So button, it can't find button inside the element, so it is giving error, so that we can't add event listener on nothing. That's the thing. But now we don't need it. So now what we want to do, we want to add the event listener into first element, because whenever you type something, we want to move to the next element like that. So first input element dot add event listener. Now this is not a click event, of course, because we are not clicking it, we are just adding input and it will do something that we want. So now we will do input, and then we are adding the function name. that we added. Now I can add the console log, so we know that it works or not. So function is called, let's say something like that. I refresh it. Now I type something 5. See, the function is called. Okay, so now I know that okay, function is called. That means whenever we type something, this function is called. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to select the next element. Now for that, what we can do is we want to do the document dot query selector all, and we can use dot otp input. Now this particular things you already know is selecting all four input elements. Now I have to select the second element. So this is first, this is second element. Now remember in the last video I said that JavaScript count index from 0. So this is 0th element, this is first element. So I have to write select 1 so that I can select this particular element, and then I can do dot focus that I am doing, you know, in here. Similarly, whenever I type something, I want to move the focus to this. So let's see if this works or not. I save this. Now I type 5. See, I am just refreshing it to show you again. So I am typing 9. So see, whenever I type something, it go to the next element. So if I type something like 3, it will move to the next element. So this is what we do. But now if I add something like 5, 8, 9, now this does not work because we are adding the event listener into the first element and not in other element. We have to do the same behavior in all of this. Now one way is that you just copy paste this thing, you know, copy paste this thing in, let's say 4 times. But what if you need a 6 or 8 input and you want it dynamically? Then how are you gonna do it? Because we can't do it like 5 or 6 just like that. So what we use is loop. Now I already explained you that for each loop, how we can use for each loop in my previous video. So now we will use this. So for example, what we do is we will loop through this all element and we will add event listener into all of the element. Okay, now let's try to build it. So I am deleting all except the first because we will use it. So now first we will use first find all the inputs. So first all inputs. What is the all inputs? So basically all input elements we will find it is document dot query selector all. Okay, and then dot otp input. Now this will select all the inputs. Of course we can verify it by console log. Okay, this is the all 4 elements. So if I show you 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here you can also verify that the first element is 0. So this is the first element which is considered as index 0, then 1, 2, 3. So from here also you can verify the JavaScript take first element as a 0th element, not a 1 element that we do in bubble. So that is a difference here. Okay, now we have to, you know, for each, we used to use for each loop to run something, to add the event listener into all the inputs. So what we do is we will do all input dot for each. We already used in previous video. So now we have the, you know, input element. So we can add function and we can add the input element, and we can run the element. So basically what we will do, this will run this code, whatever code we write, it will run for each element one by one, right? This is similar to if you use recursive workflow in backend workflows in bubble, or in front end we use this simple looper, the workflow repeater, that is similar to this for each loop. So now what we can do is input element dot add event listener. You can see that I can just directly copy it because we want to run this not for first element but for every element. So I am deleting it. So first I am focusing on page load, I am focusing the first element. Now I am finding all the inputs and I am adding the event listener. Now we don't need to do first input element, instead I will do input element, because this input element will be first input, then second input, then third, then fourth, something like that. So document dot query selector all. Then now this is need to be also dynamic, that this one thing, because you know that this one particular things is fine for 0th element, but what if I am doing for working for here? So if I type something, I want to focus the next element, so I have to select the next element. Okay, now how we're gonna do that? So let's see. First of all, these particular things we are already storing inside the all input, so we don't need to reference it. We can directly do all inputs one. Okay, now we also need to know that what is the current iteration number, that is the index number. So that is, I am running this code for this first element or second or third or fourth, because that needs to be dynamic. So I can use, after input element I can add the index, because it's also give you the index. So index is 0 1 2 3. So if I can comment out this and I can print out this console log index, you see that it will 0, it will find 0, that is running for this element, then 1 2 3. I am saving it. Now see, this is 0 is for running for this, then 1 for this, 2 3. Okay, so now I have to add the event listener. Then whenever we type something, for example if I am typing something, I have to take the index plus 1, that means this element, and focusing it. So all input index plus 1 and then focus. So for 0th element, that means this element, it will be index plus 1, that means 0 plus 1 is 1, so it will select this element and focus it. And for 1 it will select the 2 index and select it, and for 2 it will select the 3 index. Okay, now if I save it, I can write 1, you see it works. For 2 it also works because we are using loop. Now if I use 3, it also works. Now if I write 4, it will give a error. Why? Because now in the fourth element, that is index is 3, we are running index plus 1, means 3 plus 1 4, but there is not a fourth index or a fifth element. That is why it is not finding it, and then when we are doing focus, it is giving error. Now then what we can do, tell me. So basically we have to add conditions. For example, in bubble we use only when, so here we can use a if else statement. So if is like, if this condition is true, then run something, otherwise run other code, something like that. So let me show you how we can do. So basically, if index is equal to all inputs dot length minus 1, then just a second. So if index is less than all inputs minus 1, then we will run it. So let me first show you that what this even mean. So basically we have concept of if and else. So for example, we have this type of syntax here. So if, and then we type the condition here, and here we just add our if condition is true, and then we write else. Else is not mandatory, you can avoid writing else also. So otherwise, so in terms of bubble, what we do is we use only when. So inside an action or inside a workflow, what we do, we use this condition inside only when. So if that condition is true, then the workflow or the action will run, otherwise it will not run. So similarly here, we inside a JavaScript we do something like that. If this condition is true, then run this, otherwise it will not run this, right? So now see that how this condition should work here or not. For example, index. So what I'm saying is that if index is less than all inputs length minus 1. For example, here all inputs means the 4 element. The 4 element means the length is 4. So that means 4 minus 1, that means 3. So this will run for index is equal to 0, index is equal to 2, index is equal to, for example, if I write like, so if index is equal to 0, then all inputs dot length minus 1 will be of course 3, because total input number of length is 4, because we have 4 inputs, and then minus 1 means 3. So it will run for, like, if I do 0 less than 3 for first element, because index is 0, so it will run because 0 is less than 3. Now if I do 1, it will also run for second element. So that means it will move the focus into third element. For second, it will also run. So for this element, second index, it will work. Now for when we do 3, then it will not run because 3 is not less than 3. So then for fourth element, that is third index, it will not run, which exactly we want, because for fourth element there is not any fifth element to move the focus on. So that is why we will not run it. So that is why I am adding inside if condition. Okay, I am deleting this. Now let's see if it works or not. So 1 2 3 4. Okay, 4. So it works actually. Now one more thing that you understand, that suppose for example if I write something, it will move here, but I want to select this element so that I can edit it. So if I want to do that, then instead of focus I have to use select function. So now if I write 1 2 3 4, and if I just move the focus here, and if I write 2, then it is selecting the next element. So not only focusing it, but also select that whole text. So that is why I am using select here. Okay, now one more thing is that so there are some bugs or some feature that we have not implemented. For one input we don't want to add more than one input. So okay, so if I write here 5 or 4, right, if I write 5, I want to remove the 3 and just added the last one. That is one bug. One more thing is, if I press back button or backspace, if I press backspace, for example if I press backspace, it will move the next element, but I don't want that. I want that only move if we are adding something at value, we are adding some value. Okay, so let's see how we fix these two bugs. For first bug is that we don't want to add, like if I want 2, then we don't want to add 32, instead I want to add only 2. So let's see. So basically this function is also giving you an event, this event object. This is provided by JavaScript engine, which gives you more information that what event is about, means what we are doing. Here we are adding some data, like inputting something. So if I console log it, let's see the console. If I added like 2, then you can see that this is the input element, and if I added like 4, then it also add this 4 element. This is the 4. Let me show you this. Okay, so this is for first time when we added 2. So this is 2, you can see the data element is 2. So this is the data element, this is 2, and we also have some more information provided by JavaScript, but we also only need this data. So whenever we second time we added 4, we have the data. So that means that we need to set this data to this input element instead of, so that it will be set 4. If I add something like more, like let's say 6, so now instead of 246, it will set this element, this data, it should be. So how we gonna do it? So let's say if instead of console logging, we can use that the input element dot value should be event dot data. So this is the whole event, and data is 6. So that means if I write 8, for example, instead of it will set this inputs value to 8, so it will look like this. So let's see if it works or not. I'm saving it, and now I'm adding 1 2 3 4, for example. Like, let's say then I add like 6. So if I type 6, you can see 1 is removed and the 6 value is set into the whole element. Okay, now this issue is solved. Now I cannot add more than one element. If I add 9 8 7 5 6, it will remove the existing one and it will add only one character. That is what we want for a OTP input. Now one more thing that I already show you, that if I press back button, it is moving forward, but we want to move backward. Okay, so for example, if I press back button, we don't want to move to the next element. So one thing I can do is we should one thing what we can do is that if we adding backspace, we should not move to the next element. So this code should not run if we are pressing back button. Now let's see that what is the value of event.data when we are removing something. So event.data, if I like 5 and then I remove it, you can see the value is null. If you remember in the last video, I said that JavaScript has two empty values data type. One is null, second one is undefined. In Bubble we use null, undefined is not used anymore. Okay, so let's see that how we can write a if statement to not run this if the event.data is null. So for example, what we can do, you can wrap this whole code inside a if element. So if event.data is not equal to null. Now is not equal to, you can see that we are adding this syntax. Now let me show you the details of it. Just a second. Yeah. So for comparison operator, what we do is in bubble we use like is or is not, something like that. So in JavaScript we have equal to, double equal to, triple equal to, and for is not we have is not operator and is not equal to operator. Now you can see that we can use this element. This is like understanding. Okay, for equal to I have using double, and for not is not we are using that. But why we are using this triple equal sign or double not equal sign like this? Why we need it? So basically in JavaScript, if we want to like write here like for example, if you have in bubble, if I said in terms of bubble, so bubble has a type that is, for example, anything is text or number. For example, 3, this is a number, okay? So this is number, 3 is number. But if I say like under quotation, this is a text element, so this is not a number. So that means if I say 3 equal quotation mark 3, it will give me true because the value is true, but the type is not matching. But if we want to strictly match type and the value, then we will do triple equal 3. Now this will give false. That means these two are not equal, value is equal but type is not matched. So that is why. So if I write 3 equal 3, then it will give me true. If we want quotation 3 is equal to 3, this will also give me true. And but if we do like 3 equal to a string value of 3, then it will give me false because the two values are same but type is not matched. So if any is false, then if value is not matched or type is not matched, it will give false. So generally JavaScript, newer JavaScript, the version of JavaScript generally suggests to use triple quotes to avoid bugs. So I am using these things. That means event.data is not null. Okay, so now I have to wrap the whole just a second. I have to add all the things inside this. So now what is suggested, only run this if event.data is not null. If it is null, then don't run it. That means don't select the next element. Okay, if I select this, now let me show you 1 2 3 4, and if I select here and I backpaste it, now it will not move to the next element. Okay, that is one thing is complete. Now we have to do the second thing. That means whenever we add backpaste, for example, if I type backpaste, then I want to focus the previous element like this, because for example 1 2 3 4, and if I write backpaste, that means something is wrong with my code, so I want to focus the previous element like this. This is a standard process that almost every input OTP input field do this. So now we will see how if we backpaste it, it should move to the previous element. It should clear these things and it should move the first element. So how we gonna do it? So for that we will not use input element because we are not inputting anything. So we will need to listen to another event listener. For example, if we do input element, we have to listen up to key up event, key up. Now these all the event listener are you can read from MDN docs. Okay, so if I write all JavaScript events MDN. So this MDN is a Mozilla developer network, so it is the largest collection of docs of JavaScript or in terms of web development. So you can see what types of event that it gives. I'm not going depth of the docs, but let me show you that what is the difference between key up and input. So input is basically, suppose if I write A or B, you see the type of the input element is number. That is why it does not giving me the typing A, B or C element. Okay, we can't type it because it is restricted in the. So if I type A, B, C, this input element will not trigger. Okay, because we are not adding anything into the input. But if I use key up, then the if I write A, B, C, D or anything like that or backspace, it will run the event code. So for example, if I write the function like console log key is pressed, and for which key I want to see that which key is pressed. So for that, you already know that I have to pass the event, and I can use event.key. For example, if I write, let's say A, B, C, D, you can see that this does not run. Let me log for you, for example, console.log event, or let's say input listener, list listener is called. Okay, now if I write A, B, C, D, you can see this key is pressed. That means this is running, but this is not running because we are not inputting anything. If I write 1, then this will add. So for backspace, for example, if I write backspace, then you can see that this key is pressed. Okay, but this code is not run. That is why we have to add a new event listener. That input does not work here. So I'm just remove the things. Now you already know that the key is pressed is backspace, so we can just write like that. If event.key equal to backspace, then what we want to do is want to select the previous element. So we want to do all inputs. So now index -1, because we want to select the previous element, index -1 dot select. So if I type something like 1, 2, 3, like something like that, it will move the cursor to forward, and if I select backspace, then it will move the cursor backwards. So if I backspace, it will select this. If I backspace, it will select this. If I backspace, it will give error, because similarly the same issue is from here. Like if I select this and if I try to go backward from this, so for first element there is not any element before first element, so we have to add condition here. So now I can combine these two conditions. Now to combine condition in bubble, we use and or such operators. So here we can add the operator. So for example, in bubble we use and, we use or operator, right? In JavaScript, the and operation is defined by this and sign, ampersand sign, and for or we are selecting via this pipe operator. So 2 ampersand 2 pipe. So if I want to use and, we have to use 2 ampersand. So if event is backspace and what index is not equal to 0, that means index should not be 0, or we can also see index is greater than 0. That means it will not run for index is equal to 0. If I save it, now let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. If I backspace it, backspace, now it will not move to next element. Okay, so I think most of the things already done. Now let's try it in our bubble editor. So this is our code. So we can add some comment like add event listener. These are not needed, but this is only for your own understanding of the code. I am just selecting it, copy it, and then just paste this code inside our HTML header. Now one more warning that if you are not using a paid plan, then this will not work. You have to use an HTML element and add the script there. That is I already shown you in my previous videos. So now if I just replace the script, now just check it. On refresh, it is selecting the first element. Now if I write 1 2 3 4, it works, and if I press backspace, it also works. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, or whatever we do. If I select this, and if I like 9, then it will change this and it will select the next element. So this all works. Now one thing I have to do is that I have to change the border color. If I add something, for example in conditionals, I can add like, if this input's value is not empty, then just change the border color to something like something green, for example. Okay, so if I on it, so it will look like this. So that is fine, so that you have something that yes, it is inputted. If I can copy and paste into other element as well. So paste element. So now if I just see the changes, so it will add a green border 1 2 3 4. If we adding in data, if I remove it, it will remove the green background, green border color. Okay, so now it works. Now one more thing that I want to do this, I want to add a alert element or something like that whenever input is done, we want to see alert element. So that is like input, and I can change this to align with parent, and for alert element it will show on top, and this will also show on top. Okay, so for alert element, I think this is fine. This is alert, and then now what we want to do is, whenever we fill up the whole input element, we want to show this alert input. Okay, so how we can do it? So basically we have to use the toolkit plugin that I already shown. So this is the toolkit toolbox plugin, sorry. So toolbox plugin, and then you have to add the javascript to bubble plugin element and paste in here. You can just change the width to 1 pixel, for example, so it will not visible. Okay, so that's it. And now we have to add a suffix for here. So basically let's see from code how can we trigger an event that we say JavaScript that in this point the input element is full, this OTP element is full. So let's open the input element. So just a second. Yep. So basically here we can write, if all the input element here, if all elements, all input are filled, that means OTP is complete, OTP input is complete. So if I write 1 2 3 4, then that means at this point the inputting, that means the OTP is complete, filled by user. So let's see what we can do. So basically we can do all inputs dot, for example we can add filter. Now let me show you that how you can add various how you can add various array functions inside JavaScript. Okay, so I am adding the code here, for example. So for example const a is equal to, let's say list is equal to 1 2 3 4, for like this. So this element will be like this, for example 1 2 3 and 4. So for example this all input, that means this all input, let me do this inside here, console dot log all inputs. Then we can use map, but for that you have to convert it into an array. So if I use type of all inputs, so you can know that what is the type of this input element. So this is object, that means this all inputs. If I select these things like for query selector all, now you can see the type here, note list, this is the type. But if we want to use JavaScript array function, then we have to convert it into array. So how we convert the type? We can convert it via like this, array dot from, and then inside the parentheses we can pass the object. So if I now console log it, you can see this is a array, because now we node list is not there. So now we have an array of these inputs. Now we can run any JavaScript function like for each or something like that. Okay, so now we can add, we can see like this is the array from. Now what we can do is we can run functions, like for example filter. What filter is do is remember in bubble also we have filter function. So what it does, it adds some constraints, that means the filter conditions you can pass on it, and then at the end after the filter function we will remove that element or things that are not satisfied with the condition. So similarly here also we will do. So what we will do is, for example filter, it will take a input function, so function input, and then we will return if input dot value is empty. Now tell me what it will do. So basically we are taking the all inputs, that is these elements. Now we are converting it in an array, and now we are adding a filter function that will filter the things, that if inputs value is empty string, that means it is empty, then it will return all of the inputs like that. So if I save it, then if I write 1, then it will, it will give you 3 inputs, because 3 inputs are empty. If I write 2, then it will give me 2 inputs, this the third and fourth, because these 2 are empty. Now if I add here like 4, now it will give me the 1 input, that is the middle one, that is the third element. If I write here also, then that means it will give me empty array, that means length is 0. So if all the inputs are filled or not, how we can check it? We can check the length of it. So for example if I add the length, then it will give me that if all the inputs are filled or not. For example 1, the 3 is printing, that means 3 elements are empty. 2, 3, 4, that means now 0th element is empty. That means at this point we have to tell bubble that user inputted all the OTP, now you can process it. So for example we have to use this whole element inside the if condition. Now one more thing is that you can you can sort these things into one line. For example I can do like this. Inside filter I can do input fat arrow function. I have seen you in the previous video that how to use fat arrow function. So input dot value is equal to this. Now you can see this will work exactly like the previous expression, but this is much shorter. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. If I add the length, it will do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is the length. We can store it inside an element, like for example const is OTP complete, so it will store inside a variable. So we can also add a format it like in the next line, so this will also work. So length, now this is this should be a boolean, so basically this is the length. So when all the OTP is complete, when the length is 0, that means length equal to 0. Now if I console log this value, console.log is OTP complete, let's see what is that. So 1, this is false because now the OTP is not complete. 1 2 3 4. Now when I type 4, that is gives true because now OTP is complete. So we can use it inside a if element, if condition. So if is OTP is complete, now I can show the alert, like for example OTP is complete. Okay, and I can do 1 2 3 4, OTP is complete. Now this is foolproof because now if I do 2 3 and then if I just put here like 3 and then at last if I put 9, then also it will work exactly fine. Okay, so now this works, but now we can't use a alert function because this is working for here, but inside it I want to inside the bubble I have to tell bubble that OTP is complete. So for that I have to run a bubble function. So bubble underscore function underscore, we have to have a name, for example OTP complete. Okay, and then I can add the value here. So for example, what I have to pass the value, that 2193, I have to pass the whole value. How can we do it? For example, first of all, let's just console log it. So console log array from all inputs. Now we are doing array from in everywhere, so what we can do is inside all inputs we can add the array from here directly. So array dot from, and then we don't have to need array from in everywhere. So for each also work because for each works for normal node list type as well as JavaScript array type. So now we don't need to use this array from everywhere. Okay, now this works. Now I have to do all inputs dot map. So what map is, map does it, let me show you. Input and input dot value. If I refresh it now, if I write 1 2 3 4, then it will give me array like this. So what it does, it will run a function and it will take the input and it will try to give a value. So map will take a list as the input and it will give a list as the output. But you can, I am giving a list of inputs and I want to list of those inputs value as the output. So it will give me 1 2 3 4. Now I have to join it, right? So to join a function I can write dot join and like this. If I refresh it, let's see what it does. 1 2 3 4. So it will joining like a comma separated, but I don't want a comma separated, I want a empty string separated. So this is an empty string, let's see. So 1 2 3 4. Now it is giving you 1 2 3 4 as a string. Okay, now I can also convert into a number because 1 2 3 4 I want to convert it as a number. So that is your own way. If you want as a number, then you can do it. For example, I can wrap the whole element is a parse int. So parse int, what it does, it convert the whole string into a number. So if I save it and if I just save and refresh it, so like 4321, it will give me 4321. Okay, now I can just call the bubble function OTP complete, and now this is a custom function. Okay, we will define it inside bubble. So bubble fn OTP complete, and you can pass the data. Sorry, I deleted it. So now I can store the OTP. So const OTP value, and I can pass OTP value. Okay, now locally it will not work because it will not find this element, but let me show you. If I copy it and here if I paste it, I paste it here, and now what I have to do is go to the JavaScript to bubble, and here I have to add the bubble fn and then OTP complete. So basically we can run any function with bubble fn and then we can write the function name. So here it is OTP complete and we have to define it here, OTP complete. So now I have to trigger the event because whenever we complete this, I want to know that when it complete. This is one. we have to publish the value, because publish the value means I am passing this value here. I want to receive in bubble. If you don't use it, it will not receive automatically. Now value type, this is a number because we are passing this value as a number. This OTP value is a int. Int means integer rather a number. Okay, so this is a number. Okay, now it has the value. So if I just I can open it in the debug mode. So debug mode is equal to true, and then let me show you that it has the value, but we have to use it. Okay, so for example 1 2 3 4. Now if I just use just a second inspect, and if I just select the JavaScript to bubble a and then select its value, you can see this 1 2 3 4 is done. Now if I change it to 5 6 7 8, then if I select the JavaScript to bubble, you can see that 5 6 7 8 there. And also we can listen to as an event. For example, I have to go to here, and then we can do a JavaScript to bubble event. Select the element that we added here, this element, because there we have the function name. So now, and then we can do show element, show message, the alert message, change the alert message. So this is OTP is, and then we can insert dynamic value. So this JavaScript value, that is the number. Now if I refresh it, let's see what it does. 1 2 3 4, this OTP is 1 2 3 4. So whenever we done 1 2 3 4, this function is run, this function is called the bubble, this JavaScript to bubble element receive that data and pass it into this event, and it will run this, and then this is how it works. Now we can do anything. We can add here like submit, login the user, or check the OTP is correct or not. We can add any data here. So, and plus we can just backpass etc. also work. Also if we resubmit it like 8972, it will also work like that. If I write 6, it will also work. Now we learn a lot in this session. In the next video, we will convert it as a plugin which you can use in all of the pages. So we don't have to maintain the HTML element like here, like in HTML element or inside that. We can just use a element like this, like input. So we can paste here like this, and it will take some parameter, like for example here it will taking the placeholder etc. It will take number of characters I am putting, the color etc. So this is will build in the next video. Please subscribe the video, subscribe the channel, because the next video will be amazing. It will be very interesting. And if you are an agency and looking for a JavaScript bubble developer, you can hire me. Contacts are in the descriptions. Also recently I passed the Bubbles official certification, so which I feel great. Every Bubbles developer should go through the certification, which add more weight into a portfolio. So that's it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.